So, who wants some crumbs of indeterminate origin? Looks like cake. Cake from the 80s. Anybody?
That sounds like LSD or something. AIDS cake?
AIDS cake. Okay. Well, what we're all looking at up on the big board is a synapse. It's the gap between...
The big bird?
The big board.
The big bird?
It's the gap between the end of one neuron and the beginning of the next. It's a boundary, an important boundary, a boundary that substances in your body called neurotransmitters or meters, if you are inclined that way. Neurotransmitters need to bridge in order for nerve cells to talk to one another, in order for you to live. Let's see what happens when I hit the little red, green tab.
Blue tab.
Oh look, an impulse coming down the presynaptic neuron. Then what?
Oh, wow.
Ions. Oh, there are ions just floating in the synaptic cleft, or the synapse. Look at those ion channels. They want to be your friends. But they won't be unless you give them the right kind of payoff, which is in the form of...
It tickles, 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 it tickles.
Which then cause those ion channels to open up, and the ions, the sodium ions, naturally to diffuse into the postsynaptic neuron. Let's do it again, kids. Open, damn it. Go in. Thank you. And you can see that, oh, what's happening now? Testicular cancer. No. It's neurotransmitter again.
Ooh, you do want to stay on me. Okay, then.
Okay.
Too close.
Oh, look.
Stay.
Because the neurons are efficient in their operation.
It jumps.
And it takes an awful lot of energy to manufacture neurotransmitters because they're really complex chemicals. Think about it. Your body makes neurotransmitters.
Come back, buddy.
Are you fucking kidding me? And you don't even have to oversee the operation. Because of that, and the body tends to conserve energy, they're reabsorbed by the presynaptic neuron.
Don't most animals make these up?
Look at those mitochondria. Oh, mitochondria. Oh, ion channels closed.
So you're gonna miss them.
Let's see if you can get it. Get the whole deal. That's what the impulse comes down. The synaptic vesicle binds with the membrane. Look, neurotransmitter released. They hook up with the ion channels, which open up, allowing sodium ions to go freely into the postsynaptic neuron, and charge is passed on. And then the neurotransmitter is reabsorbed. It's that simple, kids. It's that simple.
Then why didn't you say that yesterday?
That's true. If you definitely just does this, I think you probably would save at least like...
It's bad.
Yeah, you wouldn't have it.
I still have no clue. That's okay.
Oh, really?
Well, no, I know what happened.
Okay.
Ouch.
You know I'm just messing with you, Austin.
Yeah.
Nova.
All right. How about this? Toxins and synapses. I think we're ready to move on. I can tell you're interested. Page not found. That's my favorite.
Do drugs affect
They sure do.
the speed of that stuff?
Yeah. Let's talk about drugs.
Because Nathan likes drugs.
So true, Sam. So true.
Agreed. I agree with that.
I'll do it this way.
Funny that you guys are talking about that and then I sent to them.
Yeah, that's okay. It's perfectly acceptable.
Let's go invade Dylan's privacy.
Here we go. Okay, so you like drugs, do ya?
That's a problem.
This is a little bit more complicated, but let's see if we can follow these animations that depict the effects of various drugs on our nervous systems.
I had cocaine.
Yeah, mommy.
And you got a party.
I know, that's good. That's a good message to send to the kids, Raul. It's not right.
Whatever kids are watching this are probably off up on something anyways.
Okay.
See, this guy was telling me about acid and cocaine, and he said they're good when you mix the two because they kind of like balance each other out.
That frightens me. Let's
That-
move on.
Me too.
What? I'm sure he was a
Smart
model
guy.
citizen. Here we go. Hold on, kids. You see this happening? Somebody tell me what's happening here. Look at that. What are those? What are those yellow things?
Neurotransmitter.
Right. What are those green things?
Receptors.
Right. Well, the dull, kind of mud green are the receptors. And see the uptake pumps? Uptake's actually an active process. It's not just passive diffusion that leads the neurotransmitter to be reabsorbed.
Got it.
It is some kind of unbelievably and incomprehensibly complicated process. Maybe not incomprehensible.
Ralph, it's dopamine.
Dopamine.
Okay, normal dopamine
Dope.
function. Dopamine is found in certain pathways in the brain that regulate mood.
Add cocaine.
Let's add cocaine, shall we? That regulate the feeling of well-being. Not enough dopamine, you feel edgy. You don't feel good. You feel
Bad.
bad.
That's sarin.
Let's
Add cocaine.
add it.
Add cocaine.
There we go.
Wait while loading.
Okay.
Wow.
There's the cocaine. What's it doing?
Blocking the
Ooh,
uptake
it's
pump.
blocking the reuptake. That's right. So there's more and more dopamine now in the synapse, which increases the strength of the signal and sometimes causes the signal just to be sent spontaneously. So that signal of good feeling. It sounds almost like an ad for doing cocaine, and I don't really want it
Very
to.
bad, yeah.
But
Well, what could happen
Well, it looks
after a
awesome.
long period of...
that's a great question, Austin. I'd like you to repeat it.
What would happen after a long use of cocaine?
That's a great question, and I'd like you to repeat it. No, sorry. I'll tell you what happens when you do cocaine a lot. The body is kind of genius at adapting to environmental changes, even at the level of the neuron. And what happens is this. It's one of two things. Either, and I say this because I don't know whether people fully understand what it is, or perhaps they do, and it's both, and you can check up on this. It's one of two things. The body adapts by way of producing less dopamine, or by, and that I think may not be true, or, this is great, I'm speaking with authority here, or some of the postsynaptic dopamine receptors become inactive. They shut down. How come? Because there's so much dopamine in the synapse, and every single receptor is being hooked up by dopamine with cocaine blocking the reuptake of the dopamine, that somehow the postsynaptic neuron senses, hey, we don't need as many receptor sites. Whichever it is, what happens when you stop taking dopamine is that, in effect, even though a little bit of dopamine is still released at the synapse, when you stop taking cocaine, I meant to say, even though a little bit of dopamine is released at the synapse, it's as if you're operating on a dopamine deficit, because the body's adapted to the initially artificially high levels of dopamine caused by cocaine, and now when you remove the cocaine, there's this dip, there's this rebound in the negative direction, and so there's less dopamine in the synapse. It's as if you're operating now on a deficit. And as a result of that, you experience symptoms of depression and anxiety and the stuff that you feel if your nervous system's not really functioning as it should. And then, simply to feel normal, you got to take some cocaine, you got to ingest it, as they say, or snort it or whatever, to get your now altered synapses back up to speed, so to speak. What do we call that? What is it called when you get used to a drug?
Addiction.
There's a more specific term that's used.
Dependence.
Dependence is a
what
good
Nathan
one.
said.
And tolerance, too. Tolerance really is the one that is the term that describes the lessening of